We are ready.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the work session meeting of the Mayor and Council on Monday, March 11, 2019. We will immediately go into regular session at the conclusion of work session. Will everyone please rise for a moment of silent prayer? Tonight, we're going to remember former Councilman Vito Aquafeda, who passed away 1 year ago on March 5th. Councilman, Mr. Hughes, charge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same, as provided by law, of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. I would like to remind all members of the public we have 3 fire exits in the council chambers, 1 on each side of the dais and 1 in the rear. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Steve? Here. Councilman Canigo?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis? Present. Councilman Gaudier?
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Here. Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mignon?
Present. Motion, please. Resolution 19-109 to go into closed session and exclude the public for the purpose of interviewed personnel, DPW superintendent, personnel interview administrator, and a fire department procedure report.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You might want to run home, right? It's going to be maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, just a second. Wait.
I tried to say that.
Just address that. I told you you're going to get it, so let's just...
Do you want to address it?
Okay, it's going to be going to the next meeting, so.
All right.
Henry,
Henry,
come
come back.
we'll recess.
We take a brief recess?
Recess.
Okay.
Closed session. First item of business tonight is personnel for DPW.
We are ready.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council for Monday, March 11th. I apologize we're so late. We had some heady topics in closed session that took longer than we had ever anticipated, but we'll go forward. Everybody please rise for a moment of silent prayer. Mr. Saul, please do the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same, as provided by law, of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. I'd like to remind all members of the public we have 3 fire exits in the council chambers, 1 on each side of the dais and 1 in the rear. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Steve? Here. Councilman Canigo?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis? Present. Councilman Gaudier?
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Here. Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mignon?
Present. Motion to approve the minutes for the Mayor and Council meeting of February 25th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now, let's get to the good stuff. Proclamation for declaring March 10th to 16th, 2019 as Girl Scout Week. We have representatives for the Girl Scouts. Please come up.
Joe, it's the new one. Yep.
There's no light on it.
May not show up.
That's okay. Leaders, you could have good. So we have Donna Camacho and Evangeline Camacho, who are the co-leaders of Troop 8 through 7. We have Liberated. We have who's Claire and who's Emma. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know they're gone.
Yeah, no, you are.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We have Donna Camacho, co-leader, Troop 827, and her daughter Evangeline, correct? And we have Claire Gibbons with her daughter Emma, second year Daisy, right? Troop 9, 1973. Right. We have a proclamation that reads as follows. Whereas throughout the long history of Girl Scouts, certain traditions remain meaningful and important and are still practiced today. And whereas every year the week containing Girl Scout birthday, March 12th, is bookended by celebrating the connection between Girl Scouts and their faith. And whereas Girl Scout week begins the Sunday before March 12th, a day known as Girl Scout Sunday, ends on the Saturday following March 12th. And whereas the Girl Scout birthday on March 12th commemorates the day 1912, when Juliet Gordon Lowe officially registered the organization's first 18 members in Savannah, Georgia, and this year represents 106th birthday. Whereas since its founding in 1912, Girl Scouts has enjoyed the support of religious organizations, and together they have enriched the spiritual lives of Girl Scouts, each of whom strives from the perspective of their own personal belief to live up to the Girl Scout promise and law. Now therefore be resolved that I, as the mayor of the Borough of River Edge, in recognition thereof, do hereby proclaim March 10 through 16 of 2019 as Girl Scout Week in the Borough of River Edge.
Thanks for coming. Oh, great.
I'm sure they're very, very happy to see you, right? Oh, wow, okay. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a great organization, and we wish you many more years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
We have a proclamation for Women's History Month. I'm going to tell them to talk me to accept on the I like how we just passed River Edge, but we'll attend us. Proclamation reads as follows. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force, both the inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early childhood, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. And whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now therefore be it resolved that I, as the mayor of the Borough of River Edge, in recognition thereof, we hereby proclaim this month, March 2019, as Women's History Month in the Borough of Woodbridge.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate. I guess we lost. We had three women on the council.
That's right.
So it's,
50-50.
Sorry, Rob, no proclamation to you tonight.
Okay, Mayor.
We're just going to go back through a couple of work session topics first. Did you want to report on the 2019 Bergen County Open Space application?
Sure. Just briefly to let the council and members of the public know that the Recreation Commission will be preparing a letter of intent for the upcoming Bergen County Trust Municipal Program for 2019. Their plan, per their 5-year plan, is to make renovations to Kenneth B. George Field as their next project, with the hope to make this the official home for Regal Girls Sports. So they're waiting on a proposal from Mazer Engineering to begin that project, but they are putting a letter of intent with the county for 2019 open space.
Okay. Our administrator, Mr. Nedrin, had to leave for personal reasons this evening, and he just wanted us to relay that there'll be another probably budget meeting or two between now and the end of the month before we adopt our final budget. We'll do it anyway. Work session consent agenda.
Mayor, may I make a motion to table work session as the consent agenda, item number 1?
Okay. Which is,
Authorize mayor to sign amended lease with Mid-Bergen Regional Health Commission for rental of premises at 705 Kincomack Road.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And this is so we could just do some little more research and come back with something soon. Okay, item 2, award contract to Frank Macchione Construction for the 2018 road resurfacing project at Oxford Terrace and Rutgers Place, Phase 4, in the amount not to exceed $143,500. Award contract to Cost Engineering for engineering services related to the flood hazard determination for flood insurance rate map, in the amount not to exceed $2,500. And approve the request from the Recreation Commission to place a banner at 140 Kincomack Road to promote the River Edge Run.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? For our information, we have Mr. Costa, the Borough Engineer, and Chief Caridi of PD here this evening. The Land Use Board held a public meeting to review the proposed community center site plan, and Mr. Costa and the Chief are here this evening to review those findings and maybe give us some direction. Mr. Costa?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, evening to the public. Based on the requirements of the municipal land use law, went before the land use board to basically give an overview of the project. And based on that meeting and comments from the public, there was a memo written by Nylema to the council describing some recommendations that they want to make back to the council itself. With that, we've incorporated some of those.
Excuse me, Rob, do you have that letter? Does anybody have a copy of that letter?
I don't have it on me, Mayor.
I just want to write into the record what the recommendations were.
Rob, is that the same as this?
It's a little bit different, just with
Okay.
some of the changes.
I was going to say otherwise, but turn it around, but if there's differences.
It's a slight.
Well, we'll be able to turn it around, let everybody look at it.
if we give them. You just want to read it into the record?
Yeah, just want to get the...
Bob, I have it if you want it.
You have it? Yeah. Great. Pick up the phone, you know. Oh, sorry. All right. Just for the record, dated February 11th, 2015, it was sent via email to Mayor Mignon and the Borough Council. And again, it was authored by Nylema Nabi from Cleary, Jacoby, Alfieri, and Jacobs LLC law firm. And again, based on a hearing that took place in front of the Municipal Land Use Board on February 6, 2019, and in conjunction with NJSA 40:55D-31, and as I said earlier, which is a requirement under the municipal land use law in order to present the case to the land use board. Actually, the planning board in this case is combined with the land use board. Based on that testimony and comments at that hearing, these were the recommendations from the board. First, provide for landscape berm on site, and that landscape berm would be on Elm Avenue. And again, that was brought up here at the council level prior to that by the public, which certainly was our recommendation to do, and I think it was your recommendation to do also. Any HVAC units that are on top of the building itself would be appropriately screened so you couldn't see them. The partition doors to be manual in lieu of motorized doors internally, that if there was going to be a partition door to try to, temporary doors or whatever, to make additional rooms depending on what was going on there, they would be manual and not automatic, so no one, basically for safety reasons. With regard to the parking circulation, the board recommended that the drive aisle parking spaces 62 to 67 would be in a one-way configuration. So basically, this would be a one-way circulation pattern. Not that you would come in here and then people would try to exit the opposite direction. So we changed that, just from here to here. We do not enters. As a result of the comments made by members of the public, the board recommends that the governing body review the drop-off area. And I think this has come up in the past where the orientation of the building would be rotated 90 degrees and come in, have it actually form continental instead of elm. And I think that was discussed with the architect at length at the last mayor and council, and I believe that recommendation was not going to be followed because of the reason of the orientation of the building and in conjunction with how it would look from Elm Avenue. You would have one building facing in one direction, and then you'd be looking at this side of the building in the other. So we actually just increased the striping at the drop-off area where the bus would pull in and out, and it would be more of a circulation pattern. So you could actually get two buses at the drop-off instead of one, and you still have the crosswalk coming across, and it wouldn't impact that. But this would be basically a striped area to drop off at. Remove all green islands due to the board's concern that it's not feasible to plow snow. Again, I think we want, certainly it's the recommendation of shade tree to get more green and not less and more pavement. My thought on that is maybe we could possibly create some either 45s on Belgian block and possibly put rain gardens in those areas. So it'd be somewhat depressed and try to pick up some greenery. So again, it's up to the council. If you want us to remove it, we certainly will. My recommendation
It shouldn't be
is
a,
not to remove
it should not be a major hindrance to plowing. That seemed to be the concern of
Look
the
at
board.
this year, it doesn't even smell really.
I think we would like to accommodate the comments of the...
Let's see. The speed limit on Elm and Continental should have appropriate signage with warning signs, speed limit warning signs, and then strictly enforced by the police department, which, again, I think with the electronic sign that's out there, I think that's helped quite a bit. But again, Chief, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. I think that's...
So
I don't know if I missed that. I don't think I-
let's go through 'em. Landscaping berm, that's something obviously that we want included. The HVC will be appropriately screened. Partition door is manual. I guess could be manual. I'd leave it up to the architect, I would think, whatever recommendation they give us, but,
Probably cheaper.
yeah. And then, so Rob, with regard to the circulation, the drop-off area, the speed limit's just signage. So as far as you're concerned, from an engineering standpoint, are the board's recommendations positive for this plan, neutral for the plan? And would you recommend that we...
Again, I don't think it's an issue, you know, I think most of them I think they were probably pretty much incorporated. It's really not that much different from what you said. It looks like there's one more maybe I missed it. Stripe the crosswalk on Elm and Tenney for safety reasons and based on the comments from the area, from the residents in the area. Again, that was across the street where they just put a crosswalk, a marked crosswalk. And it's no big deal. You have to put some handicap ramping there and just put the marked crosswalk.
Okay. Chief, has the department had an opportunity to review the revised site plan?
Yes, I did.
I guess limiting to, well, you can answer all of them if you like, but focusing on the traffic issues. Do you have any concerns at this point, or?
No, the primary concern for the police department was in fact the traffic flow throughout the lot, whether there was any concern as far as safety going into or coming out of the lot or traveling through it, and there was that one change in direction in the one way of traffic rather than two, which is going to facilitate the area being even safer than having two-way traffic in that lot. So there were concerns that we noted based on the changes.
The board also recommended that the governing body reach out to traffic and safety to obtain their concerns and comments. I think what I would take from both of you gentlemen, that the site circulation, parking, and access are designed by professionals, reviewed by professionals, reviewed by the board. Is there any other reason that traffic safety would comment on that portion of the plan?
Might have been for the striping on Continental also. I don't think that was ever sent to them. I don't know if that was,
But that's not on this plan anyway.
but it was actually presented that night.
Was it?
Yes.
So we need to refer that to them, that piece. Questions from the board? Council, I should say, on the planning board.
You changed the flow of traffic throughout the parking lot?
No.
One way?
Just the one, just that, from spaces 62 to 67, so just that corner.
Right in the upper right corner.
Just these spaces. Just, this was two-way circulation?
Uh-huh.
Now it's one.
Okay.
Now it's one.
One way. The concern was if somebody comes in here and there's no parking spaces, they would continue, and this
In that way.
section is not wide enough, it's only 13 feet, so if you had two cars there,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't get, basically, you couldn't get around. So just here would be one-way circulation.
So what are your feelings on that?
The other section that's closer to the street has a 29-foot space where two-way traffic is still there. And it's only 1 foot shy of some areas of Kinnickmack Road, so there's ample room there. Where it's still left is two-way.
And again, the only reason that's being choked down at that location is because in order to give the ambulance corps the 6 spaces that they require, you just can't shift everything over in order to make it work and still be somewhat efficient with your parking. So I think it's a good, you know, a good recommendation. I would definitely follow it.
Okay, so where do we stand in terms of final design plans and specifications of the site work?
We are very close. If the council says go to bid, I would say we could probably get this on the street 3 weeks.
Okay.
Are we discussing each of the recommendations in and of themselves?
If you want
or-
to, if you have a concern about anyone in specific, I think generally they're all, if they're acceptable to the professionals and the police, I
Calling
don't,
them, aren't they?
I guess the two that I have questions about are the orientation of the building, which the professionals seem to think should remain the way we originally had it.
Mhm.
So we would be rejecting that.
yes. But that wasn't a formal recommendation.
Oh, okay.
from them.
And the trees in the parking lot. I don't like the idea of just asphalt. I want some.
Yeah, no, I think everybody.
That's what this plan shows.
That's what this shows.
And you've met with Shade Tree Commission a couple of times.
Met with the Shade Tree, spoke to Shade Tree. What Shade Tree would like somewhat of a budget put into this to relocate certain trees, and I said, as soon as the council gives me direction whether or not we're going to go out to bid. So if the council said tonight, this looks good, go out to bid. I said to Liz at Shade Tree, let's meet with your members, let's walk through the area, and let's look exactly which trees you want to save, either relocate or put some money in the budget of this in order to plant new trees.
What's the plan for the kitchen right now?
We
There's
haven't
no
gotten
kitchen.
it.
That's-
Nothing.
Just nothing at this point.
That's what was,
Does that not,
Well, there's no reason we didn't go that far into the architectural design until we get past the site work.
oh, okay.
Basically, what would happen is, once it goes to bid, when we get the bids back, assuming it's within our budget, I think that's when we'd authorize the architect to go to final design on the building itself, and that's when we can ask, about any modifications to the interior of the building.
Okay.
So that's when that would be addressed.
What's the budget for the site work?
600.
I think it was 600,000.
That obviously includes knocking down the American Legion.
But basically, again, my recommendation was to do this in phases. If Phase 1, basically leave that as a pad area. So Phase 1 would be knock down the American Legion, construct this, and do the least amount of impact to the library, which has to basically remain open during this whole construction period. Put down a binder course or just a stabilized base in the parking lot. You might lose certain things during construction. Maybe some of the curving might get chipped. But doing it that way, you're going to have less impact, less mud going on the roadways. It'll be somewhat faster because you're only dealing with your pad site. So basically, all your other infrastructure will be in. Bring your sewer towards the building. Bring your sanitary, put your sanitary sewers in, your storm sewers, your lighting within the parking lot, and then just leave a clean-off area when you go to Phase 2, which would be the actual building, and then construct it as if it was a pad, similar to what's going on in Riverside Square, where all the other stores are operating in the restaurants, and now they have basically a pad site in the front that they're trying to create. Not that you have complete devastation, and then you're trying to keep everybody open. So that would be my recommendation. Do it 2 phases.
Any other questions on
So this initial work, would that include all the walls for the building, or
No.
not at all? Okay.
That would just, basically, that would be cordoned off, that would be your pad site.
Okay.
And then build this. Don't finish it, like don't put your final pavement
Right,
on it.
right.
But put your stabilized base, and then this way it's much easier for the construction. You don't have, like I said, you wouldn't have mud tracking in and out. You wouldn't have mud tracking into the library, because that's going to create mud all over the roadways, so on and so forth. And I think, honestly, I think we cut down on time also.
any other questions?
So if it went out to bid, my question is this: if the bids came back too high, or we didn't like the bids, or,
You can reject them. And then you either decide to reduce the scope, or maybe put some things as alternates, then you can rebid. Any other questions from me? I'm going to open up to the public at this point because it's appropriate.
Perhaps we can turn that
Yeah.
around so the public can see it.
So, motion open to the public? Second? Is there a second open to the public?
Yes, I did.
All in favor? I'm sorry.
All right.
Any opposed? If you want a few minutes, Ken, you can just look at it.
It was in the hall.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay, okay.
Kenny Lehman, 190 Kenny, can you be the microphone?
Yes, please.
Give them the,
So again, Kenny Lehman, 190 Tenny Avenue. Couple questions. First thing is, at the land use meeting, I was there, it was brought up with regards to the kitchen, that if there was going to be any kind of design change which would incorporate having a functional kitchen that actually had a stovetop or anything of the sort, where you'd have to have gas into the building for that particular location, that it would increase the scope of the build significantly, and that having an actual functional kitchen in there would increase the price of the building itself. So does it really make sense to say that we would maybe entertain the idea of converting the plans into a functional kitchen at a later date? Or do you need to figure that out now?
No, you don't have to figure that out now.
Why?
Because you can always, there's gas there already.
I know, but...
And the architect hasn't designed the interior of the building yet, so.
But the architect himself
Mhm.
said that the design would have to change substantially when you have to take into
And he will,
consideration what would be
and when,
needed for fire code.
and when we get to the point where he's doing his design plans, then that would be the opportunity, the appropriate time for us to, make a change or not make a change. The intention was not to do that.
Okay, so, and I also asked that question because it's also, SCORE is under the impression that there won't be a functional kitchen in there. And when I did speak with Henry, the president of SCORE, he had mentioned to me that they are currently looking to keep their deal with the synagogue so that they could stay there because they actually don't like this design and they don't want to be a part of it. So that brings it back to the only actual survey results that you have to support this is the 54 responses, of which at least 51 of them were supported by SCORE, and this is not serving the recommendation that they wanted out of that response. So how do you work around that?
They don't have a working kitchen now at the temple, so there was never an intention to put one here. My interaction with SCORE, they've been very positive on this project. I haven't got anything negative.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that.
I believe they have a functional kitchen now.
But you cannot cook there. They only have sandwiches and cold foods.
The kitchen is there, but it's not for their use.
You know,
Right, they said they make coffee there, and they would like to do the same thing.
yes, and that I'm sure wouldn't be a problem coffee.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think maybe that just warrants a conversation with them, because I can tell you that I had the conversation.
Well,
with them.
they're not here tonight. They've been at previous meetings. All of us have spoken
We've
to
all
them
been
on
down
this.
there to talk to them, and they've been very,
So,
Then we're getting.
and
When did you have your conversation?
Mr. and Mrs. Ma were here earlier this evening, and they didn't voice any.
yeah.
All right, well, yeah, no, I stand corrected. I definitely had that phone call with them.
if they have any concerns, we're all ears.
I also want to just ask, so at this point, you're going to come to a decision as to whether or not you want to put this out to bid, right?
Correct.
Which would require a vote of the entire mayor and council, correct?
Correct.
All right. Wouldn't it warrant, like, letting the community know that you're actually at the point where you're going to decide to move, to steadfastly move forward with this project?
I think,
And the reason why I ask that, Mr. Mayor, okay, is because, trust me, the last thing I want to do is be here, okay, on Monday night for hours on end and not be with my family, okay?
I agree.
This entire project has consumed my life in a very negative way, all right? So I'm here, okay, because the thing is, I feel concerns, okay? Just last night, I'm over on Route 17 for baseball practice. I got other dads asking me, why are they even building it? What purpose does it serve? It's just a room. How come we don't get basketball courts? How come we can't have this, you know? What's the purpose of this actual community center? Why would they even spend that kind of money? So the thing is, though, is that I understand that, time and time again, you've mentioned that there is a need that people have expressed the want to have meeting space, okay? And I'm also telling you, okay, and not from just my perspective of being a resident across the street, I'm telling you that I am also hearing from citizens in the town that they don't necessarily want this building, okay? So I will ask, and I asked this once before, why not just put it to rest with a referendum vote and let the town decide whether or not they want you to move forward with this bill? Why not? If you are so confident that we need this, let the
I
town
don't
tell
see
you
the need
yes.
for that, and it would be non-binding anyway. So the rest of the council can weigh in if they want, but
I will say this, I've had the same conversations, same type of conversations with dads on the baseball field and on the basketball court, and when I explain why I believe that we need it, because of all the reasons that have been enumerated here over the past year and a half as we've been discussing this, everybody says to me, oh yeah, no, that's a good point, you're right. So it depends where it comes from.
So then I agree. So then, Dario, I'm just asking Mr. Councilman.
Dario's fine. My name. We're friends.
You gotta get used to it. Why not then just let the town decide?
I mean, from a philosophical standpoint, philosophical standpoint, I think that if you were to put all these issues that come up whenever anybody has an objection to anything that the government does to a referendum, I think you'd have just a bottleneck. That would be fun. I think we have a singular opportunity today to do something great for this town, to contribute to its infrastructure. The American Legion served a purpose before it got destroyed for whatever reason, whatever happened. And that purpose was a necessary purpose in town, and we've been missing that from this town. Regal has its monthly meetings at the diner because there's no real good space that they can get on a regular basis. There's a lot of organizations that go all over the place that are always scrambling for space. I think this community service will be great for the community. I think it will add to this community. There's a myriad of reasons, and I think we've listed them all. But personally, I don't see a referendum as being necessary. I think this community needs a community center. Other communities around us have community centers. I think the seniors in town need a place that they can go regularly, not just once a week when they don't get kicked out of it for other reasons. I think teenagers in town need a place to go instead of wandering the streets on Friday nights. And our director that we have hired with the express purpose of at some point programming this community center, I think this director has great ideas and will be able to really contribute to this town in other ways. I think the community center itself, once we have everything set up, will start generating some revenue because people are going to want to rent it out for their 7-year-old birthday party and for their graduation parties when they don't want to spend hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars elsewhere. And, the idea of a working kitchen is something that we're going to have to consider down the line, too, because I think that may be something that might be important to a community center. Does it have to be gas? I mean, can you have stoves run by electricity? I mean, you can. So there are other things that we can consider at the time. But, when you ask me why am I supporting this community center, because I think after having been a resident here since 1984, I think this town needs it, and I think it's about time that we get it done. The seniors have desperately, for years and years and years, asked us for a community center, or senior center that they can spend time with, and again, not just once or twice a week when that is available and they get kicked out and then they have nowhere to go. It's more central in location. It's next to the library. I think it's going to contribute to the function of the library. I know the library is a little nervous about everything, but we're not looking to take anything away from the library. We're looking to add to this community. So that's the short answer.
Isn't necessarily. But
well, I mean, look, you know what? I mean, there's people on both sides of the fence. And I can tell you I've had private conversations with certain individuals who do, certain individuals who don't. It really depends who you're talking to and who's being talked to.
But to that point, if there are people on both sides of the fence, then that's my whole reason for asking why not let the town decide.
We've had 14 hours of public hearings. It's been posted all over social media. I haven't received any emails against it. I don't know if the rest of the council has received any correspondence on it.
Nope.
So we've
That
had...
one meeting was filled where they came, and I think a lot of people came in against it after they listened to everything and what the plans were for it. They seemed pretty happy about it.
Councilwoman Davis, I don't know necessarily that that's the case, okay? That was the only real well-publicized meeting that was put up on the website, that actually anybody knew about. Okay, the meeting that happened in December, I think it was like December 11th meeting or something like that, all right? It was a Monday night. I literally received a notification that the meeting was going to be on Saturday when the mail came. Okay, and I know, Mr. Mayor, that you made a mention during that meeting that there was not really anybody in the meeting, so there must not be too much objection to the center itself.
I
So
said
the thing is,
the
the thing is, okay, is if we've had 14 hours of discussion, okay, and this thing has been in the works for what has been mentioned as decades, okay, if it's so hard to get over the line, why is that?
It's not.
Why is that?
I don't think it is. I don't think the council has had any, we
Then how
brought
come it
everything, we
wasn't
brought
done
it
10
to the
years
public.
ago? How come it wasn't done 5 years ago? How come it wasn't
It's
done?
been
We're saving,
yeah.
we're saving the money.
The money.
Exactly, and
we've been
this has
putting
on
away for that
discussion
every
for
year.
10 years.
Kenny, you advertised this yesterday, right? You went on the community group and you went on This is River Edge and you told everybody about it. Turn around.
Where are they?
Who's here?
We've done our best to accommodate the concerns to the best of our ability. We can't change the location, unfortunately, where you are, and we're going to try to do whatever else we can do to mitigate your side. We'll,
And what is that, Mr. Mayor? If I had not found out about this during the 2295 meeting, okay, a year ago December, okay, actually I think it was 2 years ago December, whenever it was, when Gavin was in it, if I had not found out about it, did you do anything to mitigate any kind of issues that I might have with this, okay? Had I not found out about the discussions of this during that 2295 meeting, okay, I don't think it would have spiraled into what it is today.
I respectfully disagree. I respectfully disagree. You found out about it at the beginning of the public process. These projects start out in committee, and then they come to the council, and then we move things along, and then we open it up to the public for their comments. And you found out at the beginning, and you did a great job advertising it and bringing up concerns and changing our mind about certain things that we had originally thought about doing. And we listened to you, and we listened to the other residents of River Edge, and we tried to accommodate. When traffic was a concern, we got a traffic study to show us that the traffic is no longer a concern, not a real concern in this case, so as to have a negative impact. When the trees were an issue, we certainly moved things around. When the land use board just now told us that, hey, let's get rid of all the trees in the middle of the lot to make it easier to plow, we say, a few minutes ago, we said, no, we want it to look attractive and look good, and we'll figure out the plowing. And as far as your home is concerned, I think ultimately it's actually going to be a benefit to you. I think that your property value is going up because of the location and because of the accessibility to this community center. So I think overall this is going to, again, be a boon to this town, and I think we've done everything open and answered all questions that have been posed to us. But again, I think, speaking for myself, I think this is a necessary project and it's been necessary for a very long time. And when I first came on the council, before I even ran for council, when I was being vetted as a possible candidate, one of the things I said is this town needs a community center, and I'm going to be very strongly in favor of that.
Also, the entrance and exit, that was changed for you in the very beginning. It was coming in and going out by where the garage was going to be taken down, and that was going to be the exit. That was totally changed. There wasn't going to be an exit or anything on Continental Avenue. We've changed that also. I mean, we've really listened. It's not like we're pushing anything through. Every single issue that has been brought up by the public, we've really tried to deal with.
And we'll continue to do so.
It's, 12 years ago, had you told me that this was going to happen across the street from where I live, I wouldn't have never moved here. I wouldn't have.
Would have been a loss to River Edge.
I'm convinced, Kenny, that your family will be using it the most once it gets done. Going over there, I think once the library embraces it and sees that it's not going to divide them, that they can use the bigger rooms when they have something, it's all going to be good. I really believe that.
And what about for the 1.5 to 2 years that it's going to take to build? What's it going to be like living across the street from that?
Well, I mean, that's part of the reason why we're doing this in phases. We're trying to be very cognizant of the residents. You heard Mr. Costa and the chief speak to that. I think by doing so, it's going to be a minimal impact. There's always going to be an impact. I mean, nobody here is telling you there's not going to be an impact. But we're going to be cognizant, and I think you have all our numbers, and you got my private number, and if there's an issue, you call up, and we will work to make sure that you're as least affected as possible. There's going to be some effect, but, you know, nobody's going to be doing construction at 8 o'clock at night, and it's just not going to happen, so, you know.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Nancy Kennedy, 220 Manning Avenue. I realize this is a done deal. It's going to go through, and that some of you think this is the best thing to come down the road since sliced bread. Fine. You're all saying you haven't heard anything negative about this. You're all saying that the town just can't wait for this to happen. And maybe the people you talk to are telling you that. But I know there are a lot of people who are very hesitant about this. They're very worried about their property taxes, because even if you've put so much money aside for this, this project has ballooned over the years, and there is going to be a lot of money you're going to have to spend on people who are going to work. You're going to have all these programs. You have to have people, and you have to pay those people, and that is going to come out of tax dollars. So before you, well, I guess it's too late to say before you continue with this, I suggest that there is better outreach. I know you said you had all these fabulous meetings. I heard about it, word of mouth. I went on the website. It was very hard to figure out when this was coming up for discussion. It is not that easy, and a lot of people in town feel as if this is being done under the carpet, quietly. Let's not say anything. So I think maybe if this is such a fantastic deal, if you can sell it so well, maybe there has to be better outreach. Because from what I'm hearing, there are a lot of people in town who are not happy about this at all. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'll repeat what I've said in the past, is that for the past 9 years, it's been essential, or not the central, the main issue in every political campaign. Both sides of the aisle, both sides have always advocated for it. Talk about publicity, it's been on every piece of mailings that everybody has gotten over the past 9 years. So I don't concur that this is done under the carpet or anything. It's been a long process. It's been a thoughtful process. It's been a fair process. It's been an open process. And I don't have any concerns to go forward with what we have right now. And we'll leave to the board to make the final decision. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Bruce Murphy, 761 7th Avenue, Woodbridge. What do you need to abandon this project?
I don't need anything to abandon it. I have no intention of abandoning it.
What can I offer you to abandon? In other words, what can we do as a public referendum to go ahead and get the people to speak and get this done? Let the people speak.
The people have spoken through
Where?
8 elections.
Where?
No. Yes, they have.
No.
Yes, they have.
No, you can talk. That's been an issue among issues. It hasn't been the issue.
It's been a central issue.
It hasn't. Why don't we have a referendum?
We don't, this town doesn't have referendum, it's not appropriate. That is the reason
Wait,
why, this is why you elect a mayor and a council, to make these kind of decisions on behalf of the town. We buy $600,000 and $700,000 pieces of equipment routinely. We don't go to public referendum on those.
This is all different stuff.
We've, when they purchased the land initially, we didn't have a public referendum. When they purchased Cherry Blossom Park, there was no public referendum.
Where is, you mentioned the list of all the people that have come forward with this. Where are the list of these people?
I never mentioned a list. No, please don't listen.
Where are the children, you said there's, stop the children from wandering the streets. What children are wandering the streets?
You need names? Is that what you need?
No, I want to know why children, parents of this town, are wandering the streets aimlessly.
Well, I think you're going to have to talk to the parents of the children in this town who are wandering the streets, but I'm
Well,
sure
they're
that the police chief will tell you the
So
same
you think
thing.
they're going to walk into this public facility?
Well, that's the hope. That's one of the hopes. That's one of the many, many hopes for building this community center, to give children and teenagers.
Did anybody ever do a
more master, no?
did anybody ever do a mailing? A mailing of letting everybody know in town what the status, where this was, step by step.
It was discussed numerous times at public meetings. It was on the public agenda. It was reported by the town news. There were articles in the record. So there has.
So do you need a signature list of people of River Edge? Do you need 5,000 signatures? Do you need 1,000 signatures? What do you need to
Sir,
abandon this?
That's not a question for me to answer.
So you're saying it's a done deal? This is going to happen?
No, I'm saying that we're looking to go to bid to see what prices we get for site work.
So what price will you go up to?
Whatever the engineer tells us the estimate is and what we budgeted for it.
What are you budgeted for?
600 plus,
600.
1,000 plus, yeah.
Okay, so what did I read, 2.6 million?
Because the building, that
We're
was
talking
separate.
about the site plan,
It's just the site work.
site work.
And I guess you've mentioned, Mary, that you put all this money away. This money's
Yep.
sitting there and...
10 years, 9 years, we've been putting money away for this.
All right, well, listen, there isn't anybody I've spoke to in my neighborhood who know much about this, and there's no one in my neighborhood who would use this. So with that said, I don't know who this, I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I do want to thank all of you for your dedication, because you do a job that I probably could never do. You're here, you're listening to people like myself, and I appreciate that you put your time in and are dedicated to River Edge, and I thank you. And by the way, we moved to River Edge in 1958. All right? I moved away, raised my family in Ridgewood, and I just came back about 13 years ago. But the point is that we didn't have a community center back then, and I haven't needed a community center in the last 13 years. So, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your positive comments on the work of the council. I think they appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your dedication.
Thank you.
I actually have a couple comments.
Joe, anyone else from the public?
One question?
Robert Kennedy, 220 Manning Avenue. So if the site plan goes out to bid, and the bid gets accepted, and engineers come in and they do the hardscape to set up the draining, they run the wires and the conduit and all that, what happens to Plan B when the site plan is done, the building goes out to bid, but you can't accept that bid?
You would do what you would normally do in any other project. You would either rescope it, you would take out some of the interior features that you can phase in later on without having to modify the building, or I wouldn't recommend it, you don't do the project, or if, depending on how much more money it was, if you have to, whoever's sitting up here at that time, to decide whether they want to invest more into it.
Does the site plan for making the scrap, does that include the site plan for the finish? You know, grading and sod and drainage and that?
Yes.
So, Mr. Costa, you're the town engineer, right? You consider where the water goes, right? Extensively, right? Because there's, you know, the brook back there and...
I know the brook.
Okay, all right.
No,
I just heard it called...
I know when you drop a drop of water there, I know where it goes to.
Hopefully it...
You know, he's being a little facetious, so we had told him, and right from the beginning, we wanted to make sure there would be no drainage issues.
Yeah, because usually that drop ends up in someone's basement, a
Yes,
riverbed.
and believe me, I do not want that to happen
Yeah,
to anybody.
okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone? Yes, Ken?
Last quick question, funding for this project, I know you guys have mentioned that it's been saved up for over the last 10 years. You still have to go out to bond to support some of the project? Or
I'd have to ask Alan, I believe we do, but it's already been incorporated into our calculated debt service, but we would actually, yeah, it would be part of a bond, because we didn't borrow the money yet, because we didn't build it.
So any budgeting or any approved funds that you've had over the last, 10 years, that's just enough to cover principal and interest, or to pay for the project outright?
It was to pay for the whole project, that was the way it was designed. We just don't borrow, we don't borrow the money until we need it.
And is it funded through general obligation bonds?
I couldn't answer that question, if there's Mr. Negri.
Anybody on the council know? Mr. Costa, in your experience, do you know how this is funded?
From my understanding, the money has been put as set aside. But again, I'm not sure, I don't know how Mr. Negrin is setting up any of the necessary borrowing. Once again, you have to have the money, you can't go out to bid unless the money is in place. So you can't just put it on the street and say, okay, there it is. There has to be a budget, there has to be, in this case, just for the site work, an engineer's estimate. So we gave an estimate to the preliminary tax. If it comes over that estimate, the council has one or two choices. You reject it entirely, rebid it, value engineer it, do something. Or you have to raise, obviously, the bonding capability or how much money you have. But you can't just put it on the street and try to press the word to see what it costs. You need a budget, and they absolutely have it. There's an architectural budget, and obviously there's an engineering budget for the parking lot and infrastructure.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I know that the budget was part of the agenda in the work session. Is that a finalized budget, or?
No, this is we're introducing the budget.
Are there any concerns with regards to this?
There's no money allocated in this year's budget towards this project. Anybody else? Motion to close to the public?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. I would like us to provide some more information to the public. I'd like to hear more about the programs that would take place in this community center and possibly even a sample schedule. Because if you're going to have SCORE there in the morning, well, then obviously programs for teenagers and whatnot would be afternoons and so on. I would like to, before there are any votes for funding, I think we should definitely have the meeting well publicized and have it out there for the public so that they know about it, so nobody feels like this is happening without their say. I don't see any harm in getting bids because we need to have as much information as possible in order to make an informed decision. So we would see what the bids come back on the site work, and I don't see a problem with that, but that vote is not to actually fund the project, it's just to see what people would charge. Am I correct about that?
Yes, but the money has already been allocated, so there's no separate vote on the funding. The funding's already been voted upon and approved.
And I would also just like to say that I definitely believe SCORE needs a functioning kitchen, and it would be helpful for other events. And I like the idea of an electric stove. probably.
I believe there's, you would know better than I, there's certain requirements that they would need to get Meals on Wheels and programs like that.
Yes,
from my understanding.
absolutely, if we were to become part of the county nutrition program.
I also think we should have an estimate on the operating costs.
The architect will provide that.
Well, no, the cost of, okay, heating, lights,
We
et cetera,
went
but
through
also
analysis last year
labor.
already, and I don't remember the numbers. We had them.
If we had a sample schedule, we could have a better idea of the operating costs as far as labor is concerned.
I will say this, I don't want to sound like I'm saying no in any way to what you're saying, because I understand where you're coming from, but it's very difficult to call up a yoga teacher and say, how much will you charge for a class for teenagers in a building that we haven't built yet, that may be built in 2 or 3 years, and possibly, schedule you? What's your rate going to be? And because we need to guesstimate what kind of programs we're going to be able to do. I mean, if it's let me finish. If it's a question of like getting Ms. Baldanza to give us ideas that she has, I mean, I think a lot of that was presented to us when we hired her in the first place. She brought a big binder like this of all the things that she's done in the past and all sorts of different ideas. She was here at the meeting, which was jam-packed with our town residents when we were discussing this the first time. Well-advertised meeting, well-attended meeting, where all these concerns were brought to light, and she answered many of these questions. So beyond that, I have no objection if you want to ask that she provide, some sort of ideas of curriculum, but I think, realistically speaking, do we have a kitchen? Do we not have a kitchen? What is this ultimate space going to look like? How many people will it hold? Are we going to enclose the outside area? These are all issues that have to be decided and have to be realized before we can really talk about the scheduling. I don't think we're going to have a problem getting a yoga teacher in, or adult programs, somebody to teach a painting class. And to Mrs. Kennedy's point earlier, these programs are not just programs that we are going to provide for free to everyone. These are programs that if you want to sign up for yoga for so many weeks, you're going to pay.
You don't need staff, though.
I understand that there's going to be some staff, but we do have a rec director who's going to have an office there and is going to be there regularly. I'm sure that we're going to have somebody else to come in when she's not able to do, and we'll meet those staffing needs. We're going to rent this property out for different parties, different events, and it's going to generate some revenue. So it's not just going to be on the taxpayers' back. So I mean, that's as best an answer I think that we can give right now. But as far as Carolyn coming up with ideas, I think she's chock full of them, and she's more than willing to share them with us.
And to your point that you can't ask a yoga teacher what she's going to charge 3 years from now. You could ask what the person charges today, and
But it's still not going to help us with a schedule on a building that hasn't been built yet.
But I think if we have a better idea of the programs that would take place there,
well, I mean,
I think the public may see a little more value.
I have no problem.
Yes.
Okay. So Carolyn joined us, when did she join us? Last May. So she's been here almost a year. She has gone out into the community to introduce herself to various demographics in our community. She's held multiple teen focus groups for the purpose of preparing a programming schedule for when and if this building is built, but for the programming before it's built. So she is laying that groundwork. I would not think we should wait until she's finalized her programming plan, but I will tell you that she has been working day in and day out to develop a program plan for different demographics in the community so that when this building is available, she will be able to program it. I can say that with confidence.
This program, she's a director.
She's the Director of Recreation and Cultural Affairs for the Borough of River Edge.
When was that position?
She replaced Bobby Conway when Bobby Conway retired last December.
And how long is this?
She's been here almost a year.
How long has this position been in place?
Oh, forever.
Well, the Director of Recreation has been in place forever. However, she has additional responsibilities of cultural affairs as well as recreation.
Cultural affairs?
Correct. So she's going to...
What is her salary? Do you know her salary? Is it public?
It is public. I'm trying to remember. I believe it's in the 50s.
No, it's more than that. It's more.
It's in the public record.
It's a public record.
It does for the January,
Okay.
the org meeting,
the
it's listed
reorganization
there.
meeting.
All the salaries listed there.
Nice, okay. I'm not questioning her qualifications or anything, I just, I didn't know if it was a new position because it...
No.
No,
No, it's a replacement of an existing position, but she's increased her responsibilities to cultural affairs as well as recreation.
Nice.
So she is working day in and day out for programming now and in the future when the building comes to fruition.
I'm sorry to jump in again, but
Go
something
ahead.
I forgot to ask. I went to Roosevelt. They had one gym, now they have two gyms. I know they put an extension on to Cherry Hill, extension. There's the Congregational Church, there's St. Peter's, there's the Lutheran Church, there's still the Reformed Church or something up there in Woking and Howard. Are all those facilities being used? And then there's the Jewish temple. All those facilities being used? Maxed out?
I couldn't say maxed out. They're all being used, and it's a very challenging process to get the proper times. Well, because you can't have anything in St. Peter's on a Sunday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. because you have masses going on. The same with the temple. The same with, and we've tried to get spaces everywhere, and the rents we were proposed to were high to rent some space from some of these facilities.
Because every church I go by now, there's 1 or 2 or 3 churches involved in that particular church. Like I go back to Congregational Church, the Korean writing. I go to the one, the church over on Midland Avenue. Midland Avenue in Paramus, just over Forest Avenue. There's, I think,
oh yes,
church.
Yes.
There's a Korean church. I think there's a Muslim something in there also. So I mean, these places are being multi-purpose as it is. And until you exhaust, in my opinion, I mean, there's 2 gymnasiums in Roosevelt. It's a big facility. It's probably bigger than the facility you do build. Sit there. Sit there. How many hours a day? So it gets you. So during the school year, the school is open from, let's say, 6 to 7. Okay? And then after 7, it's open. I mean, there's time. Yeah, I understand you got to watch out the safety of children. So you can't have everybody from your brother. But you're secure. Has that been exhausted?
I think to the council's satisfaction, I'd say yes, or we wouldn't be proceeding with the project.
No, that's not the answer.
Well, it is the answer. I'll ask the council individually. You think? All right, come on. I don't
think it absolutely has. I think we've made more than a reasonable effort. But I think if I'm hearing you correctly, and I might not be, so correct me if I'm not. You realize we have no authority over the schools. They're a completely independent municipal body. That their facilities are run independent of the council by state and law, that we don't have any interest or authority of the, and of course you realize that about the churches. So, I mean, those gyms.
We also we actually pay the schools to use their space.
And we pay the synagogue, what,
We pay $21,000 a year to the synagogue.
And when we open the community center, we won't be paying
You're
that.
going to be spending over $2.6 million for this facility. That goes a long way, you know? I mean, look at it. That's a lot of money. Plus, I just forgot, I just remembered. Safeco. Where's Safeco today? Hello? Where's Safeco today?
It's a school now.
It's a
Oh,
Jewish
no,
school.
no, it's a school. You get taxes on it?
No.
That was way before this council.
Way before us.
Long time ago. You know?
Way, way back.
Mistake? That's not good. Point is, that's a big facility. Maybe they got a space available there.
But we can't use it.
We tried to contact them with the gym, the Cherry Hill. There was a basketball issue, and our girls in town were no longer able to play basketball this year, last month. for several, let me finish, let me finish? Okay. So we tried to contact them, we couldn't get anybody to answer us, we couldn't get gym time. We can't order them to give us their gym. Of course. So, I mean, we've tried these things, and all these things that you're bringing up have been thought about, discussed ad nauseum, and we honestly, here on the council, are telling you that we believe that this is the best step forward. So you can say, where's Safeco? I didn't even know what Safeco was, to be perfectly honest, until somebody said the yeshiva, but the yeshiva doesn't let us use their gymnasiums, and we have no power over them. And the school, please. I listen to you. I mean, you're asking us questions, I'm trying to answer them, right? And the schools, we are working with them at all times, trying to get space with the gyms for very intense youth sports programs, and there's always issues. I think there is a need for this center, as I've said now several times, and I think you can keep throwing darts all you want, but I don't think these are, I'm not going to say they're not valid points, because every one of the points that you're raised is valid, but they're all points that we have considered.
Well, you're not going to put a basketball in this facility.
As much as I'd like to, no, I don't think we can afford it, because it's going to be several million more. We're being responsible here.
There used to be an elderly family called Flores, and they lived on Elm, very small ones. They used to come once or twice a week, and they used to go to Roosevelt. We used to have boys club. I went to Madison Square Garden and played basketball with the Orioles twice. I played basketball twice at Madison Square Garden. They got it done back then. They got it done back then. You guys can't do it today. You guys can't get that Roosevelt gym. Now they have two gyms. You guys can't do it.
It's possible today things have changed. I'm just going to venture a guess here.
Does he understand we use Roosevelt Gym?
Yes, and it's not for sports.
No, I
Twice. I played Madison Square Garden twice.
That's great.
Congratulations. Okay. Any more?
What it is that there are open opportunities, and let's talk.
So, want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we go out to bid.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Costa? Proceed.
I have my marching orders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr.
Chief, any more comments?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Where you going with that?
This is the old one.
Oh, all right. Well, that's mine. This is the old one. Okay. All right.
But don't get confused.
Yeah, no, I will.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So we get
I've been bouncing between work session, regular session. I guess we'll stay in work session for now. Is there any other unfinished business council wants to raise?
Just had a quick question. The Historic Commission was wondering, they got budget for signs for this year. Is there some process they have to go through to get those approved for where they're going to be and so forth?
They have to go through Alan.
Okay, so just talk
Yeah.
to whoever the administrator is?
Yeah, I don't know how they, I don't know what signs they're buying and how they procure it, but I'm sure Alan can give them guidance.
Will it be him or should we just help?
Yeah.
In his absence.
Who?
Gita. Gita?
Yeah.
If Alan's
But still go,
absent.
yeah, I would, yeah.
Go through Alan.
But out of courtesy, just
Okay,
bring it to Alan's attention and,
okay.
Make sure it's not lit on fire, so we don't want to overburden him, and if there's something he can put to somebody else.
I don't think it's urgent. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be, okay.
No, I'm not saying that to bring it up, I just want to be mindful of Alan's position.
Right.
And, well,
Okay.
and
They just
if
wanted
it's
to know.
something, yeah, it
It's
can
not
always
urgent.
be, it always can be deferred to somebody else in-house. If they're looking just for the process for procurement,
Yeah.
I'm sure we can get them that answer fairly quickly.
Okay.
Any other unfinished business? Any new business? Go back into regular session. No, we never adjourned it the first time. And then we just went back into work session for that. So we gavel back in or gavel back in?
No, I can't.
Any other session? We have not taken any recess. Appointment of personnel changes. Motion to approve the resignation of Edward Trinkleback as Second Lieutenant, Fire Company Number 1, effective February 1, 2019.
Motion.
Why is everybody looking like?
No, I'm just, I'm
I
not,
I really don't want to make that motion.
Okay.
I'll vote on it, but I
Second.
feel very bad about that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So do I, but,
It is what it is, I get it. There's a lot going on.
yeah, and that doesn't mean that somebody can't.
But I didn't want to make the motion.
No, I said, no, what I'm saying,
I know, but I didn't.
what I'm
want to.
saying is by resigning, he can always reapply.
He didn't, he resigned as lieutenant. He
Oh.
didn't resign from the fire department. Right.
Resigned his officer position, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Motion to approve the appointment, John Maldy Jr. as Second Lieutenant, Fire Company Number 1, effective February 26, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion to approve the retirement of Mark Skirbitz, zoning officer, effective June 1, 2019.
So moved.
For a sec. All in favor? Any opposed? I think when we get a new administrator on board, this is something we need to start looking at. I thank Mr. Skirbitz for all his service to the borough, but I think we can probably use that office a little more efficiently and more proactively to the benefit of the residents. In the agenda, there's several pieces of correspondence listed. Anybody would like a copy, they can get it through the Borough Clerk's office. Also on file are monthly reports for the Farmers Market Committee for February, Tax Collector, January, Historic Commission, February, and Library Board of Trustees for March, all 2019. We have no ordinances on for first reading this evening. We have one ordinance for second reading. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance 19-7 by title.
Ordinance 19-7, an ordinance amending Chapter 400, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Traffic Regulations, 400-21, Terms of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of River Edge.
These are changes with regard to some left turns on Kindercomack going north in front of Yeshiva. This is done at the recommendation of the police department. Is there a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 19-7?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Does anybody in the audience have a question or comment regarding ordinance 19-7? Seeing none, motion to close the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt ordinance 19-7 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastidt?
Yes.
Councilman Kamigo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
No.
Councilman Gaudier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Motion passed.
I abstained last time, this time I'm going for it.
Good for you, Mary. Good for you.
I have to-
We have resolutions by consent 19-110 through,
Mayor, if I might?
19-131, yes.
Mayor, I'd like to amend the agenda and introduce for a vote Resolution 19-133. Approve the appointment of a Principal Public Works Manager. With your permission, I will read the resolution to the record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas PL 1991C258 requires that the governing body of the Borough of River Edge appoint a certified public works manager as a principal public works manager. And whereas Jason Melito is a certified public works manager as required by PL 1991C258. Whereas Jason Melito has been appointed as the superintendent of the public works by the Mayor and Council of the River Edge on March 11, 2019, and now therefore be it resolved that Jason Melito is appointed to the office of Superintendent of Public Works for the Borough of River Edge, which is its principal public works manager position.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Mayor, 19-111 we tabled. Right.
Yes, and I also have a note to table 19-130. Apparently, there's more information needed. So I have a motion to table those individually or together.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent for 19-110, 19-112 through 19-129, and 19-131. Anybody want anything else for separate vote?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Kaufman, please read and move Resolution 19-132, payment of bills.
Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $520,848.80. Capital account, $8,936.80. Recreation account, $1,345. Animal welfare account, $159.60. Self-insurance account, $4,275.59. Trust other account, $21,484.86. Trust other developers account, $2,305. Be it further resolved that claims read and approved by the governing body at a council meeting will be dated that day after the reading of those claims and will appear on the following bill list at the next public meeting of the mayor and council, at which time claims would be paid. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to open to the public again.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open again to the public. Seeing no one, motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council comments. Councilman McCauley will start with you.
Okay, the Historic Commission, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, they have $500 in their budget for signs. Each of the members of the team is going home, making a list of 5 places where they think good signs would go, and then we'll talk about it at the next meeting. Those are my notes.
Councilman Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Tuesday, I attended the River Edge Library Board of Trustees meeting. I'm happy to report that they continue to score very highly in the value to each active participant in the library. In fact, they were the third highest ranked library in all of the BCCLS as far as value to the customer. In fact, in 2018, they showed $894 worth of materials checked out to each active library club. So they're doing a very good job over there, and I was very happy. Thank you.
Thank you. The River Edge Recreation Commission meeting in February was canceled due to bad weather, but they continue to communicate all the time. The run is going to be, River Edge Run is scheduled for April 27th. If you haven't signed up, sign up. Planning for River Edge Recreation Summer Camp is in the works, and I believe the dates have been publicized for camp this year. Like the River Edge Rec Facebook page to keep informed about camp planning and registration for camp. And as I mentioned earlier, Carolyn Beldanza has completed her teen focus groups and is working on planning ideas for that demographic. The Environmental Protection Commission, I mentioned at the last meeting that they're working with the River Edge Boy Scouts to eliminate plastic bag use in their Scouting for Food program, their annual Scouting for Food. This year they've gotten commitment from the Scouts. This will be the last year that they use plastic bags. They're going to promote a bagless collection for the following year, and they're going to distribute River Edge's Recycle Right and River Edge flyer as a part of that project. So I give them great kudos for collaboratively working to eliminate plastic where they can. May 11th is going to be the River Edge cleanup and the Bi-State cleanup combined, and it's going to be an afternoon cleanup due to the high tides. The Green Team is meeting this week, but they have scheduled the paper shredder for March 30th. And that will start to be advertised soon as well. The
That's
sti-
KBG, they're going to have that?
Yes. The Stigma-Free initiative is inviting all 5th and 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade middle parents to come to a program on the dangers of vaping at 7 p.m. at the middle school on March 26th. And I think that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Councilwoman Davis?
The River Edge Fire Department had 21 alarms in February, 4 cooking fires, 2 vehicle accidents, 1 water leak, basement filled up, 4 gas leaks, 2 electrical, 4 alarm, and 4 carbon monoxide. The ambulance corps had 48 calls, 33 medical, 10 traumas, 3 motor vehicle accidents, 1 fire, and 1 psych. And I will be attending the River Edge Alliance morning meeting on March 20th at 8:30 a.m. to meet with the school reps.
Last but certainly never least, Councilman Canego.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to report that the subcommittee meeting between the mayor and council and the school board and the superintendent will take place on April 9th. It's going to be a closed meeting, however, we'll report back. I'm sure that we can work out our issues and figure things out with the schools, and I'm looking forward to that. I wanted to congratulate the many teams of St. Peter's that won championships this week in basketball. I know of at least 5. There's possibly more, but it's quite an accomplishment in the CYO circuit. Again, congratulations to the Girl Scouts. As a father of 2 young women, one who went through the program and one who's currently in the program. I am thankful for the Girl Scouts, the organization, the empowering young women, young girls to be the best they are, and to all the volunteers that work hard in that organization throughout. Lastly, thank you to the DPW again for the great job they did this last storm. As always, it seems that our town is able to move when other places nearby are paralyzed, and we look around and say, well, what's the problem? 4 inches? No big deal. We're going to go to the store until you hit cracks. That's a different story.
I also forgot to mention I went to the Cultural Center for the art show. It was a great show. It's still up, I think, for a couple weeks. So if you have a chance, get over there.
We have to also congratulate Dario, who was the coach of one of those first-place teams.
Is there any team or all you want to bring in for a proclamation or anything?
Yeah, let me touch base and
Teams that did well.
there's at least 5 that won the championship.
Anytime that
So-
we can promote the youth and the sports, I think it's a good.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me reach out to Colin Quinn, who runs the program, and see what we can set up and when we can do it. Thank you.
Yes, okay. And I think I did enough speaking tonight, so I have no comments. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Still a great time.
I know, but like, not enough on the